Have you ever wondered how that app on your phone goes from just a simple idea to a tool you literally can't live without? Well, it's not magic, that's for sure. It's a really carefully planned process. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the 4 key steps for building pretty much any information system out there.
I mean, that's the fundamental question, isn't it? It doesn't matter if it's a new mobile app, a huge management tool for your company, or a massive e-commerce site. Where do you even start? Well, the answer might be a lot more familiar than you think.
You know, building software is actually surprisingly similar to building a house. You wouldn't just start throwing bricks and wood together randomly, right? Of course not. You need a blueprint, you need a solid foundation, and you need a clear process. So this analogy, this is going to be our guide through the entire journey.
And here it is. This is our master blueprint for development. It all breaks down into 4 key phases. First up is analysis. That's where we figure out what we actually need. Then we move to design, where we draw up all the detailed plans. After that, it's implementation, the actual construction. And finally, maintenance, which is all the ongoing upkeep. So let's start at the very beginning, laying that foundation.
Every great building needs a rock-solid foundation. And in software development, that foundation is the analysis phase. This is where we do all the critical groundwork to make absolutely sure that what we build is exactly what's needed, all before a single line of code is ever written.
So first, you've got to talk to the future homeowners. This is what we call requirements gathering. You sit down with everyone involved to really understand what they need, because honestly, getting this wrong is probably the single biggest reason projects fail. You'll ask about functional needs, like what must this system actually do? It must let users create tasks. And you'll ask about non-functional needs, which is more like how well must it do it? Things like it has to load in under 2 seconds, or it needs to be super secure.
Next, we take a look at the lay of the land. You study how things are already being done to find any bottlenecks or, opportunities for improvement. Imagine an e-commerce site. By really digging into how they process orders right now, you might discover some slow, manual step that your new system can just completely automate. That's a huge win, saving time and money right there.
Okay, the last part of our foundation work is data modeling. This is where you create diagrams that map out all the different pieces of information the system is going to handle. So for a customer database, you define things like customer and order, their specific details like name and order date, and then you show how they're all connected. This becomes the official blueprint for your data, making sure everything makes sense and preventing total data chaos down the line.
All right, our foundation is solid. Now, it's time to create those detailed architectural blueprints. This is the design phase. This is where we shift from asking what the system should do to figuring out how it's actually going to do it. We're about to make some really concrete decisions on its structure and its appearance. One of the first huge design decisions is picking the overall architecture. Is it going to be a traditional client-server model where your computer talks directly to one main server? Or are we going with a more modern, flexible cloud architecture that uses a whole network of resources? This choice impacts literally everything that comes after, from how much it costs to how easily it can grow in the future.
And of course, a house needs to be easy and comfortable to live in. That's where UI design comes in. It's all about defining the look, the feel, and the ergonomics of the system. For a mobile fitness app, for instance, this means designing an interface that's so intuitive that tracking your workout feels simple and motivating, not like a frustrating chore.
And just like an architect details exactly where every pipe and wire is supposed to go, a system designer gets super specific about the database structure. This means laying out the exact tables, fields, and all the relationships between them. For that e-commerce site we talked about, you'd be designing the specific tables for products, for orders, and for customers, making sure all that data fits together just perfectly.
Okay, the plans are approved, the permits are all signed, it is time to break ground. The implementation phase is where the digital construction crew finally gets to work, turning all those designs and diagrams into a real, actual, tangible system.
Now, this is the part most people picture when they think about making software, the actual coding. Developers take those design blueprints and they start writing the system's source code using specific programming languages. It doesn't matter if it's a simple script or a massive application. This is where all those abstract designs get translated into functional software.
But code doesn't just run in a vacuum. You also have to set up the infrastructure. This means configuring servers, setting up databases, and getting the networks running. It's really the digital equivalent of pouring the concrete, running the electricity, and connecting the plumbing. A website, for example, needs web servers configured and ready to host it.
So the house is built, the new owners have moved in, job done, right? Not even close. Welcome to the final and, maybe the most important phase of all, maintenance. This is all the ongoing work that keeps the system functional, secure, and relevant over time.
Just like a house, a system needs constant upkeep. This means managing updates to patch security holes. It means providing support when users run into trouble, constantly monitoring performance to make sure things don't slow down, and even adding new features or renovations as the business needs change over time.
So let's just do a quick recap of our journey. We started with analysis, where we figured out the core needs and the data. We moved to design, creating those architectural blueprints. Then came implementation, the actual construction of the code and infrastructure. And it all leads to maintenance, the long-term care that keeps the whole thing running smoothly. See how each phase builds directly on the one before it?
So why follow this whole structured method? Why go through all this trouble? Well, our source material puts it perfectly. It's all to make sure the final system is efficient, functional, and scalable, built not just for today's needs, but ready to adapt for whatever tomorrow throws at it.
And that brings us to a final thought. This structured process, it's been the bedrock of software development for decades. But now, with the rise of AI-powered coding assistants and these low-code platforms that let almost anyone build apps with minimal programming, you have to wonder, how are these fundamental steps going to evolve? Will the architect's role change when the house can start to help design itself? It's definitely something to think about.